Hi there, and welcome back to What Now? A guide to choosing the right education and career for you. In our continuing quest to get as much as we can out of whatever interest assessment or so-called aptitude test that we take, let's turn the discussion to personal preferences. The strong interest inventory refers to these as personal style scales, and most assessments that measure them call them by some similar name. Whatever the assessment builder chooses to call this category, you'll recognize it because it deals with the way you approach work and life. Think of it as how you decorate your living room, what kind of kitchen implements you need in your life, how many pillows you need to be comfortable at night, and so on. Personal preferences seem pretty straightforward, but a lot of people forget to consider the type of person they are when they're thinking about careers. We think about how much money we can make, whether we can work up to more money and at an important title, how much time we're going to have to spend in school and how much that's going to cost. And those things are important, but whether your chosen career fits your personal style is the part that makes the difference between enjoying your work and having to psych yourself up to go every day and counting the hours until you can leave. Sidebar: realistically, you're unlikely to love every job you have in your life. Sometimes a job is just a paycheck. It's an experiential stepping stone or a gap filler until you find the next thing. People gotta eat, and it's okay to take a job because starvation is really not an option. Sometimes this will happen in the midst of your career training. Sometimes people have a bit of an existential crisis and don't know if they've made the right choice. It can help clarify things to take a little time to travel and study, travel and work, take a break and train for a jumpstart career, or take a semester off and work at something that makes money but isn't necessarily in your career lexicon. Veering off the beaten path now and again isn't equal to failure. Don't beat yourself up if you don't have the degree of your dreams in hand 4 years to the day after you collected your high school diploma. It's a process. It's a growth experience. There will probably be some trial and error in amongst the success. This is life, and life, if things go more or less according to plan, tends to be pretty long. There's room in there to travel, to work at something else, to meander a little bit, and still get your membership in the full-blown grown-up club. Think about it. Living to be 80 or 90 years old is fairly realistic these days. Of those, say, 85 years, you'll probably work until you're about 60 to 75, depending on your financial situation, your desire to work, and whatever's happening in your personal life, including your health. If you graduate at 18 and work till you're 65, you have 47 years to work. Is it really that big a deal if you get that degree, diploma, or whatever at 25 instead of 22? No. It seems like it at the time. You know what the typical timeline is. Your parents have expectations, your friends are doing whatever they're doing. But remember, at the end of the day, you are the one who's living your life, and if you're honest with yourself and approach decision-making with your own best interests in mind, you are the best qualified person to make decisions for you. Now, end of sidebar. Back to personal style. Let's talk about 5 areas of personal style. The first one, work style. On one side of the scale, we have prefers to work alone, work with data, ideas, or things, reserved. On the other side, prefers to work with people, enjoys helping others, outgoing. As you can see, this score is smack in the middle. This person is fine to work in both environments and would likely prefer a mix of the two. This happens to be my own assessment, so I can confidently confirm that I like people and helping people, and I also like to research and write, which is a more solitary activity for me. I can be fairly outgoing, particularly in a helping capacity, but I do also need some alone time to recharge and not have to be on for other people. If you lean heavily to one side or the other, you are still capable of doing jobs that require the opposite of your preference, but you might find it difficult or tiring. You might need to psych yourself up to do that job. And as you get more familiar with it, you may find that you grow to like that work that seems to be the opposite of your personality. It's pretty normal to be intimidated by the unfamiliar, and sometimes we don't so much dislike something as not know enough about it to like it. It's good to step outside the box now and again. Life is a growth process, and your preferences are likely to change as years go by. If you try something new and it's not good, you'll know. And as we talked about a few minutes ago, it's okay to veer off the path or change your mind. You can always correct to make your environment more suitable for you if you're objectively aware of what you need. Moving on to number 2 now, learning environment. On the one side, prefers practical learning environments, learns by doing, prefers short-term training to achieve a specific goal or skill. On the other, prefers academic environments, learns through lectures and books, is willing to spend many years in school, seeks knowledge for its own sake. So on the surface, this seems pretty straightforward. If you're on the left side of the scale, you must be best suited to diplomas or certificates. A jumpstart career or a career in the trades seems like an obvious choice, right? Well, maybe, depending on who you are and what your interests are, but not absolutely. There's a very wide variety of shorter study programs available that we discuss in more detail in the segment on Jumpstart Careers, but let's dig a little deeper now. Say you score to the left, practical learning environment, short-term training, but you really feel like a career in medicine is the right answer for you. We all know that it takes a long time to become a doctor, and longer still to become a specialist. However, and this is a really important capital letter however, a significant amount of the time needed to become a doctor is spent doing practical work. In the first part of your education, in Canada this is your undergrad degree, this practical work is lab work that you do in conjunction with classroom study so that you have a chance to apply what you've learned in the classroom to the lab. Once you enter medical school, your learning experience will be composed of a variety of lectures, labs, supervised clinical experience, and case-based learning, and the residency that follows is hands-on work. So while there is a lot of time required to become a practicing physician, a great deal of that time actually involves practical, learning-on-the-job type work. Additionally, don't forget that a university semester is only 4 months long. A lot of the time, it feels like you've barely started before midterms turn up, and you've barely recovered from midterms before it's time to start prepping for finals. The time passes very fast. Also, in the grand scheme of life, 10 years isn't that long if it's in pursuit of something you truly feel passionate about. So what if you're 27 when you're officially done school? There are no prizes for finishing first or working the longest. You're really in this for your own self, for your own advancement, for your own life. So the point is, don't discount careers or education options because at first glance they don't look like they suit you. You might just be pleasantly surprised. Now let's talk about the right side of the page. If you scored close to this side, it might sound like you're destined to be a professor or a researcher or perhaps a professional student just amassing degrees like some people collect shoes. And any of these could be true. What could also be true is that a person with a yen for learning could earn certificate after diploma after red seal ticket, becoming a person who is widely educated and skilled in multiple fields. As I've said before, life is a process and a growth experience, and it's important to continue growing. Some people are inclined to study deeply and develop incredible expertise in specific areas, and others are hungry to learn anything and everything. Both of these types of people can fit on the right side of this scale, and both are absolutely valid. There are all kinds of ways to be a lifelong learner, and even more all the time as continuing education has advanced its online presence. If you fall in the middle of this scale, you're probably willing to deal with whatever type of training you need to get to where you want to go, provided that you've chosen a school that meets your needs. Some parts of your education will undoubtedly interest you more than others, and that's completely normal. 3. Now it's on to leadership style. On the left, we have is not comfortable taking charge of others, prefers to do the job rather than direct others, may lead by example rather than giving directions. Now, this can be read in one of two ways. The first way, which I believe is the intended way, is that people who sit on this side of the scale prefer not to be in charge. They want to do their job and will help others, but they don't want to be the one to hand out orders. The second way to read this is that people who fall on this side of the scale are micromanagers and have a hard time delegating. So it could be that some people who micromanage are uncomfortable in a position of authority, and in order to avoid telling other people what to do, will just do the job themselves, which often makes the other people feel like the micromanager didn't think they could do the good job. Anyway, let's talk about people who prefer not to lead. If this is you, you'll probably want to think long and hard about business ownership, as you need to be willing to take control in that situation. You may also want to think about this if you're considering becoming an educator. Teachers have to be able to assign work and enforce a performance standard among their students, as well as be an authority figure to their students. If you're interested in becoming a teacher and you fall on this side of the scale, you might want to consider taking some extra leadership training in order to become comfortable in this kind of position. To make a long story short, the responsibilities of leadership are not limited to CEOs. Lots of jobs come with some kind of authoritative or supervisory role, and when you're narrowing your list of possibilities, you want to check that those responsibilities mesh with your personal style. If they do, great. If they don't, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If that career really sings to you, if it feels right, then do the extra research to find out how to reconcile the leadership aspect with your personal style. It could be as simple as joining a group like Toastmasters. This is 40-odd years of your life we're talking about. 47, we said. It's worth a little research. On the other end of the leadership scale, we have is comfortable taking charge of and motivating others, prefers directing others to doing the job alone, enjoys initiating action, expresses opinions easily. If you fall on this side of the scale, you might be pretty frustrated in a job where you do the same thing every day and don't have a lot of control over your environment. That said, if you're a take-charge kind of person trying to work up to a take-charge kind of position, you may have to put in some time as the person who takes the orders. To assuage this, you might become the person in your workplace who organizes or helps organize staff events, or you might take your leadership skills outside of the workplace and into a volunteer environment where you can earn valuable skills and experience for a future workplace leadership position. Just gotta think outside the box. If you fall somewhere in the middle of this scale, it would be valuable to figure out which features from either end best describe you and work from there. Again, if you feel that one of your top career choices doesn't quite match up with your leadership abilities, take some time to determine honestly whether that's a deal breaker for you or if you can find ways to adapt. Be honest with yourself about yourself throughout this process and be willing to recognize your limitations along with your potential. Anyone can cope with a bad fit situation for a while, but it will get old. Do the work to give yourself the best chance at a great fit. Number 4, risk-taking. Starting once again on the left side of the table, a person who lands here probably dislikes risk-taking, likes quiet activities, prefers to play it safe, and makes careful decisions. This does not mean that you won't take risks. It means that you probably will take some calculated risks. There are different kinds of risks. The first to come to mind might be physical risks like skydiving or not having health insurance. There are also financial risks, like how much are you willing to spend, on what, why, and how much thought do you put in before you get out your wallet. There are social risks. Do you like to approach new people and strike up conversations? Are you able to do it if you have to? Are you willing to attend parties or other events like the movies by yourself? These are just some types of risks that play into the process of choosing a career and make up an important part of your personality. If, for example, you want to be a medical professional but prefer to make careful decisions and take your time, you might prefer diagnostic work such as radiography to being a first responder. The opposite could be true if you like fast-paced, fast-decision environments. On the other side of the scale, we have likes risk-taking, appreciates original ideas, enjoys thrilling activities and taking chances, makes quick decisions. If you fall over here, you will likely thrive in a fast-paced work environment, whether that's a restaurant, kitchen, an emergency room, an air traffic control tower, business ownership, or any number of jobs that require you to think on your feet. Something to keep in mind if this is your personality is that your job can encompass certain types of risks, and your hobbies can take care of the others, and this might be a good way to maintain balance in your life. You can see by the table that, personally, I fall very slightly to the left, and I can confirm that risk-taking is not my forte. I probably only scored close to the middle because I don't mind taking social risks. I don't very often leap before I look, and tend to be practical to a fault. That said, I'm usually fine with calculated risks, and I'm quite comfortable doing some things other people find very intimidating. So, when you break it down, you can see that your risk-taking score is made up of a number of factors. What I really want everyone to understand here is that there's no right risk-taker score. The world needs cautious people and fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants people to balance. We can't all be bungee jumpers, or careful number crunchers. Whatever type of person you are is entirely fine. If you do score on one side or the other, and would like to lean a little more the other way, then it is possible to learn how to be more cautious, as well as to learn how to step outside the box now and again. You are who you are, but you always have the ability to make adjustments, and it's never too late. Team orientation is number 5. For the last category of the personal style segment, we're going to discuss team orientation. Do you work best independently or with a team? On the left side of the scale, prefers accomplishing tasks independently, enjoys role as independent contributor, likes to solve problems on one's own. This orientation can work in tons of different types of jobs. If you work in a large office and report to or are officially part of a work team, you are likely to have work that you are responsible for as an individual. Depending on your specific interests, being far to this side of the scale could be a benefit or a limiting factor in your career search. If you're interested in becoming a forest ranger or in doing research in remote areas, the potential isolation of those positions could be a real perk. The same is true for someone who works from home and sees coworkers, if they have them, rarely. As always, you can find ways to compensate for a lack of team interaction if your work tends to be more independent than you prefer. You can join a team, volunteer somewhere, become an advisor or mentor at work, and just find those opportunities where you can, or make them if you need to. It's important to remember that your career, no matter how much passion you have for it, probably is not going to check every box you need to feel like you're living your best life. That's why work-life balance is important, and it's perfectly okay to achieve fulfillment in life from a variety of sources. In fact, it's pretty much expected that that's how it will work. You can still participate in sports as an adult. You can take up new sports or hobbies. Once again, I'll mention volunteering as a great way to give back and to expand your horizons, try something new. And if, somewhere down the road, you find you enjoy your job but feel like you need something more, it's never too late to try something new. I've never been particularly athletic, but my dream is to start entering masters running events when I'm 80 or so, because I think the field might be fairly small and I could finally have a fighting chance at bringing home some hardware. The other side of the team orientation scale, then, is prefers working on teams, enjoys collaborating on team goals, likes problem solving with others. This type of person might enjoy a larger team atmosphere, such as an actual sports team, or they may enjoy collaborating in a small group one-on-one. People who provide services to others, like massage therapists, salespeople, nurses. These are all occupations where work in small teams is a big part of the workday. A massage therapist is working with their clients to address pain issues or discomfort. A salesperson is working with a buyer to find what they need at a suitable price, and so on. Some positions, which involve small teamwork, also have large team support, such as medical personnel. A person who scores distinctly on this loves teamwork side of the scale is probably going to struggle with a job that doesn't include regular interactions with others, but that can be a manageable component of a job you love if you're honest with yourself about your needs. If you're not getting all you need from your job, but you're happy in that work, look for ways to adapt your position to better accommodate your needs. If that's not really possible, look further afield. Find a club or a team or a group to join, or start one to find that fulfillment. If you fall more toward the middle in this category, you're probably a person who's happy to work independently or as a team. Or you might enjoy working on specific projects as a group and other things by yourself. If you're working a little bit too independently for your preference, finding a group or a club or a sports team that meets at lunch might be the right option to bring interaction and support into your workday. Something that isn't discussed in these assessments, because it would be extremely hard to measure, is the gut feeling. That's your intuition about what's happening at any given time. Sometimes, even when a career seems to check all the boxes and is perfect for you on paper, your gut is telling you that it's not the right choice. If that's happening, listen. Try to figure out why you're feeling that way. It could be anxiety about trying something new or moving far away or not feeling confident about your ability to succeed. And all of those are pretty normal, scary feelings when you're about to do something big like go off to college. Or it could be that something about this career is just not right for you. You might have put a fair amount of time into your studies when this sense that something isn't right hits you. It happens sometimes, and it's okay to take some time to reevaluate what you're doing. You don't have to quit everything the moment you have this feeling, but people change programs or change their career goals all the time. As I repeatedly say, life is a growth process, and what you wanted or needed when you were 18 can evolve as you experience more of life. It's okay to make changes. A lot of people are under the impression that once you're 30 or 40, you're stuck. You're too old. You're too old to make changes. It's too late to try something new. It will take too long, and so on, and so on. Well, guess what? Whatever time it takes for you to learn that new thing is going to pass anyway. It's really never too late to shift directions. It can be harder to do that later in life because of family obligations, payments, not being able to easily relocate because you have a mortgage or you have kids in school or other things that may not be an issue in your 20s, but it's not impossible. Thank you for joining me to talk about personal styles and how they impact your career choices. Have a wonderful day and see you next time.